Hello, everyone. Welcome to some more Pioneer Internet content. A couple of weeks ago, we had one of our Pioneer live streams where we discussed all the excellent work some of our pioneers have been doing around the world, the companies they've been building, the projects they've been working on. And for those of you that don't know, that is very much kind of the goal of Pioneer, to find people around the world, all around planet Earth, working on building kind of interesting internet businesses and to help them validate and really turn what is maybe an idea or a project into a real company. We help people form their business, get them set up with things like Google Cloud credits, a community, advice, mentorship, and eventually funding. And on our live stream, we're highlighting some of the great work by some of our pioneers, and we culminated it. We culminated it in talking about this event called the Pioneer Challenge. The graduates of which, or the finalists of which, you are about to see right now. The idea behind the Pioneer Challenge is simple. We want to fix one of the largest problems that we believe are causing a constriction on the amount of founders that exist in the world, which is a mismatch between interesting business opportunities on the one hand and kind of interesting people, or maybe DRIs, or kind of extraordinarily productive people to do them. It is often the case that founders find themselves working on anecdotal problems that are very interesting to them, but not great markets. And really, the kind of secret pool of ideas that would make for a great business or a great market opportunity are hidden, available only to those inside the network. And Pioneer is really an attempt in kind of mechanizing ways to bring more outsiders in. And so our goal with the challenge is to direct the creativity of thousands, maybe even millions of people around the world at particular problems we know are large open holes in the market. And so our first Pioneer Challenge was around a problem we know exists, which is customer service and customer support. In particular, building a better version of Zendesk, which is the incumbent in the space. Zendesk is almost a $9 billion public company, and it provides a product that many people aren't happy with. As part of the Pioneer Challenge, we took groups of teams around the world that signed up for this and whittled them down week after week to a group of 4 finalists. And the final 4 are indeed the best so far, as voted by experts both at Pioneer, but also prospective customers of such a customer support product that have been giving feedback to folks along the way and voting on the product they think is interesting. And so what we're going to try to do today is we're going to take you through a journey of the product of these 4 finalists, and we'll get a chance to kind of see what they're working on, get a chance to poke around and see the product, and have kind of a real demo day, not one where you mostly are going through a slide deck and talking about your TAM, but one where we really have a chance to kind of poke around and see what the product is like, where it's interesting and where it's potentially has room to grow. So with that, we will start working through our 4 folks. Before we get too far afield, I very much want to thank in advance Jackson Prince here on our team, who's going to be very much driving the content for you today, the producer in the newsroom, if you will. And what I'll do is I'll ask Jackson to help bring up the first finalist today. Hey, Will.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Great.
Will, where are you?
I'm in London at the moment. So yeah, just on the side of the pond.
Excellent. Before you're going to tell us a little bit about Oxy, but before we begin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I work as a software developer. I've been doing that for 2 or 3 years now. I've worked a lot with freelance clients in the past, and yeah, just really interested in kind of building products, building apps, solving problems.
Perfect. How did you get into software development?
I kind of always one of those kids that was really into computers. It's just kind of developed over time, and then kind of got to a point where I was like, oh, I should probably pick something to do with my life and kind of settle on software development. I really enjoy the problem-solving aspects of it, and just working in front of a computer all day.
It's an excellent gateway drug. So tell us a little bit about Oxy.
Yeah, sure. So when I kind of first saw the challenge, I kind of took it from a software company's point of view of how they might improve on Zendesk. And what I noticed was a lot of these companies have a lot of stakeholders within the company that might be dealing with these tickets. And a big pain point for a lot of the people I spoke to was it's quite difficult to match up the people inside of the company with the ticket or with the particular problem. So one of the core features that I built was this kind of like routing custom rules system, which is kind of central to the product. Obviously, there is a ticketing and agent system as well, but through this system, different stakeholders within the business, so maybe customer support or customer success reps or particular like commercial kind of people can be CC'd in automatically to these tickets that are created. And that's kind of like a basic overview of the problem I was trying to solve.
Excellent. And so it seems like your kind of twist and angle here is obviously when one thinks of making a better Zendesk, there's an infinity of options of how to think about taking down the giant. And what you really think is the kind of important component here is better routing. That is to say, more efficiently getting the ticket to the rep that has context about that customer, so that we don't end up in situations like I think everyone has in customer support or customer service where it feels like a headless, Hydra. Is that right? Is that kind of the main gist?
Yeah, I mean, it is for me, and also kind of building more of people outside of the company into kind of the experience. So I've got an insights dashboard as well, which is kind of in its early stages, but again, it's the same idea of bringing other people that aren't necessarily in the customer support team into getting client feedback, into being able to route these tickets properly. Like rather than just having something that's really good at dealing with tickets, it's more about bringing more business value as kind of like the proposition of the software.
Excellent. Now, Will, take us through some of the product. Give us something to look at.
Yeah, sure. So this is, as I said, one of the custom rules screen. So I've just got a temporary email set up here, and we can see that it works very simply. And the idea is it's supposed to be user friendly. So if domain or name or a certain amount, then we can send a then statement. So like then send an email to or take a priority or assign a certain agent. Obviously, it is in its early stages now, but it's a platform to build on. And when more integrations come in, so when I integrate in with Salesforce or HubSpot, they have certain flags like if the deal value is above a certain amount, then we can, or if someone's contract is ending soon, then we can maybe CC in or set the priority to high or different things. Yeah. Just as a test here, I've got the submit page for this company. If we submit the ticket, we can see, go to here. Yeah, we can see the ticket priority has been set to high. We've assigned the agent properly. And if I go over to the temporary email, cool. So we can see that the ticket's been created because obviously this is the email address we put in an email field, but also it triggered the custom rule of send an email to this person. And yeah, so that's, it's somewhere to build from. And the more kind of customer feedback we get in on what is really important in how we route things to people, like do we want to just send them an email? Do we want to CC people in? Now I've got this base of, I can add these if and then statements really easily. It's all about gaining customer feedback on what they find important. And that's something that can grow over time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What part of Oxy are you most proud of?
I would say I would say the most interesting challenge was writing the custom rules, just because in terms of like an engineering thing, it was the most interesting thing I worked on, definitely. So I'd say that.
Yes. You built the DSL almost. Well, that's very cool. Look, a lot of our customers, a big thing on our mind of a lot of our customers is the efficiency of their customer support staff and service, especially now, as budgets tighten, people are trying to figure out both, obviously, how to keep NPS very high, but also how to keep everyone as efficient as possible so that they're able to, to remain as trim as possible as a team. And so automatic routing is certainly a great key for that. This is also on the demands of many of the large customers. Everyone kind of needed this as a default feature. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much. The product looks good. Any final things we should be taking a look at before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, so the Insights dashboard is in definitely its early stages, but we use Amazon TextRact to automatically extract key phrases from the tickets, and these can be editable by the end user. So if something doesn't quite fit right, they can edit them out, and then we aggregate them based on kind of like common. So like, my credit card will also show up credit card. So these are all grouped in one area. So if you are the founder and you're a product manager within the company, you can come in here and be like, well, a lot of my customers in this certain time frame are having problems with my credit card.
This is almost like, the kind of the highlights you see Google doing for POIs or Yelp in the reviews. key points of interest. Beautiful. I mean, eventually, I think this would make for a great product of its own, kind of a daily briefing. It's funny, now that we're talking about it, I'm realizing there's a whole team staffed at Apple that very much does this. Just a daily briefing of the types of chatter people are going about with Apple on the web. But anyway, thank you very much. This was excellent. We are excited to see where you take this kind of challenge aside. All right. Thank you, Will. Godspeed. And as Jackson brings up our next finalist, I should mention that we're going to announce winners later this week. This is really an opportunity for everyone to just get a chance take a peek at the finalists. Again, the 4 final folks, from all of those that applied from around the web. And the winner of this challenge will be getting, in addition, of course, to the fame and glory, will be getting a $10,000 investment from Pioneer and introductions to our customers who have been providing their feedback on a lot of this. Next up, we have Tungbo and Albert.
Hi, Daniel.
How are you?
Cool. Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing great.
Hello.
Hello. Nice wood panel you got there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, sorry, my Zoom just crashed. I'm glad that I got back in.
Obviously, you fixed it. Well, it's great to be seeing you both. Where are we finding you?
We're in San Francisco.
Tell us a little bit about both of yourselves.
Sure. So I'm a product manager by trade, and Tungbo is a data engineer, or actually just a general engineer. I personally love to hack, and so that's why you found me here on this Pioneer. Prior to product management, I worked in engineering and engineering management for a number of years before that.
Yeah, so I started as a data engineer, but throughout the years, I've worked at a few very successful startups, and I built a lot of support apps for those companies.
It's very important to be building smart apps. No one wants dumb apps. It's like water. You want smart water. Well, that's good. We are excited to have you both. You guys have an interesting take on this problem that's that I think will be of interest to those watching. So tell us a little bit about Zener RPA.
Yeah, so we think the support function, based on our work with support teams in the past, is one of the hardest things that enterprises deal with. They deal with a lot of turnover, really long onboarding times, but most importantly, they have these really complex SOPs that
and what are SOPs?
SOPs are standard operating procedures. They're these things that are sort of like units of repeatable efficiency. And ops teams are really concerned about that efficiency number. They really care about things like average handling time and how many tickets each agent can work with. And so we basically created a way to help reduce the complexity of those SOPs by reducing the amount of jumping back and forth between Zendesk and other tools like an internal admin is probably one of the biggest problems there.
That's exciting. That's very exciting. What is an internal admin? What do you mean by that? Do you mean kind of their kind of database of users and customers and that type of thing?
Yeah, so most companies, they end up building these internal admins that help their internal staff change things. Like, so for example, if you want to refund a customer, they'll build a little button into their internal admin. And it's usually like this admin.yourcompanydomain.com.
So people watching can be thinking of this as kind of just the internal dashboard for the company. And so your tool helps people bring that internal dashboard goodness into Zendesk. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So this is not a direct replacement of the internal dashboard. It's because the support agents usually only use maybe like 10-20% of the entire dashboard. But we have seen a lot of companies just give them access to everything. First of all, there's like security concerns. Secondly, it's just like too much information to solve a simple ticket when you're giving them too many controls. It's like you don't want to give them like a mission control to launch a rocket when they only need to like catch something easy.
Yes, very important to limit the amount of rocketry control your customer support agents have. Okay, this is very interesting. And so your take is you're going to sell this to people using Zendesk. No need to change from Zendesk, and you're not really interested in fixing immediately maybe some of the monotony of Zendesk. You're going to enhance it instead.
Well, in a way, but the way we look at it
is a Trojan horse, is what you're going to say now.
Kind of, yeah. It's also, this is kind of the monotony of Zendesk to begin with. It's the fact that Zendesk is not everything to a support team. A lot of their functions are actually on other tools. And so we built these support guide apps that help guide them through what they need to do. So that they're doing a lot less thinking overall.
Should we take a deep dive in?
Sure. Let me share my screen.
That sounds great.
So actually, I have it loaded to this graphic that kind of illustrates the problem, which is that typically, this is the agent's typical experience at a large enterprise, is that they have their Zendesk open, then they have their internal admin, and then they also might actually have their SOPs laid out there. So our solution is really focused around this idea that we could bring the internal admin basically into Zendesk as one of these like sidebar apps.
Yes.
And the idea here is that you bring in some of the data that you need, just the data necessary to solve the ticket, as well as the actions that are necessary to solve the ticket. So this could be a refund action. It could be answering yes or no questions. The whole point is that an agent can go through these step by step. The SOP is embedded into this, and they don't have to think about it at all. But more particularly, we focus on we're not actually shipping this widget itself. We're actually shipping a way to build that widget through a no-code builder, basically. So here I have like basically a replica of a widget that I would be building, and then I could basically say like I want to show the order status, and then pull directly from my internal admin some data related to what I'm trying to show. We also are very opinionated about giving some guidance for the agent. So this is just like me typing something that's just basically giving the agent the next thing that they're supposed to do. And then finally, some actions, like we can add some action buttons, like a refund, and hook that up with some kind of query that we set up in the back end. And that's pretty much it. I think the real focus here is on usability and this idea of like this agent guide.
Yes.
And we really want this to be engineering free in particular.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest problems was that engineering and product folks like us were never available to customer support teams. They're often left fending for themselves. And so part of the premise of this is really giving them the power to embed these things on their own and to create those integrations on their own.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the kind of embedded widget, are those for the most part kind of quick guides and primers in terms of how to solve the ticket, or could I also be embedding actual actions that are performed live on the customer into Zendesk?
Yeah, so right now, what's in the market are mostly unactionable agent guidebooks, and there are a couple of competitors out there. We haven't seen anything that can actually.
But your product is actionable. That is to say, I could actually have the refund customer button embedded within Zendesk. Is that right?
Yeah. So we are not just trying to tell them what to do. We're just trying to let them not jumping back.
Give them the freedom and liberty to actually do it. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Well, this is exciting, and definitely an interesting take on a different solution to the problem. Anything else we should discuss that's exciting here?
Well, I just want to reiterate something that I mentioned earlier, which is that our team, me and Tongbo, we've seen this problem at 3 different unicorn startups where they internally built these support guide apps into their own Zendesk as private apps. And so we're not introducing any new behavior here. We're really confident that this is a real problem and the pattern in which they're already solving these tickets, just making it a step easier.
Indeed. Well, great work so far. Very excited to see where you take this next.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
It's been a lot of fun in the competition so far.
Well, we're happy to hear that. We're going to continue to make it better. Stay safe in San Francisco. I hear there are fireworks out there. All right.
Yes.
Well,
thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Next up, we have Eric.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Eric. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Eric, where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Arizona. I currently live in Tennessee, but I am actually in Arizona right now.
Which place do you think is dealing with coronavirus better?
So I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. My wife is actually a professor at the university there, and they've done quite well with the coronavirus so far. It's only like a bad day is 20 new cases, whereas Arizona right now is having something like 3,000 new cases per day. So that's an easy one.
That's the wrong kind of growth. Okay, well, that's exciting. And Eric, how did you get into software programming?
So I've just been coding, trying to solve problems that I personally have since I was a kid, basically.
You're another gateway drug type of guy. Okay, well, we are excited to hear about your take on this. A lot of people have given positive feedback, from a 30,000-foot view about your approach. So tell us a little bit about what you're building.
Sure. So we've built Ticket Taker, which is a keyboard-driven interface on top of Zendesk. I spent a lot of time at the beginning of this challenge looking at what Zendesk is and watching a lot of people use it. And one of the striking things was that people who've been using Zendesk for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for years are not really any better at using it than someone who just started a week or two ago. They make the same mistakes, they deal with the same friction in the UI, and there's just no such thing as a Zendesk power user like there might be for Microsoft Excel or Adobe Photoshop.
Yeah.
So Ticket Taker is meant to be an interface that helps Zendesk users become power users. It's meant to be easy to learn, but very rewarding to master.
So this is a kind of a sports car for the customer service reps, something that will help them move significantly faster. Is that right?
Exactly.
That's very exciting. We all know how well Superhuman's doing, which is effectively this for email. And it seems like you are bringing that to customer service. Okay, well, do you want to give us a preview of what it's like?
Sure, so I'm actually going to show you what the Zendesk interface is like for a
We're learning a lot about you from the fact that you use Ubuntu.
That's encouraging.
Yes.
So on Zendesk here, this is what the Zendesk interface looks like. And a common task that people need to do on Zendesk is triage new tickets. So decide who's going to work on these, assign them various tags, labels, priorities, etc. So on Zendesk, you use this play feature to do that. And it goes through the tickets one at a time. Notice that there's this white flash on the page when I click that. That's just one example of the UI friction. So a lot of organizations use macros to triage their tickets. This ticket looks like a inquiry about the product, so I'm going to use this macro. Notice that these buttons flashed when I clicked on that. If I click on it again, you see a loading spinner, a white screen, and then the next ticket pops up. So each ticket here, I can only do one ticket at a time, and each one has like all these little micro frictions that just are kind of annoying. They drain your battery, they break your flow, and this is just on the triage workflow. There's a lot of other things that people do on Zendesk that are possibly even more annoying, like these tabs up here. You can end up with dozens of them, and they're just unusable. So let me show you what that same workflow looks like in Ticket Taker. So this is the same type of view here where these are new tickets that have come in and they need to be triaged. This is how I would do that same task using Ticket Taker. So here I'm using the keyboard. I'm going to select several of these tickets at the same time. It's a little bit hard to do while I'm talking at the same time, but so I might make a mistake here. But you can see I've selected maybe 8 tickets right now. I can then use a keyboard shortcut to pull up all my macros. I can apply the inquiry macro to all of them, and you see them instantly disappear. So I just applied a macro to 8 tickets in the same time that it took someone on, about the same time that it took someone on the Zendesk platform to apply the macro to 2 tickets at a time.
And how are you thinking about, in terms of, if you're building a sports car, how are you thinking about kind of the different gears you want to include? And the metaphor I'm trying to allude there to is, what are the right keyboard shortcuts to prioritize? How have you been building up that repertoire?
So we've been watching a lot of Zendesk users work and just seeing what common actions they perform. We also spend a lot of time watching training videos that companies have posted on YouTube. So we see like, okay, this is how companies are onboarding their new agents, and these are common actions that they want them to take. And so that's how we've prioritized building out our keyboard shortcuts.
So you've been watching training videos on how to use Zendesk and then literally building that into software. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
so
incredible.
Something that would take place in the training video, they might say, okay, first you do this, second you do this, third you do this. We condense all those steps down into one keyboard shortcut that applies instantly with no friction, no loading spinners.
And how should we be thinking about, do you have a sense, are you able to quantify the speed differences just in terms of, tickets per hour for the same customer, for the same customer service rep?
Yeah, that's really hard to answer without just having this deployed at a customer site. because every customer has their own unique customizations. They have different triage workflows. So it's a little bit hard to say exactly what the effect would be. Our goal is to double productivity, but we think for some companies, we can do much, much better than that.
Beautiful. I'm sure you can do significantly better than that. You know, I think there's a reason why software engineers around the world use Emacs and Vim, and it would be great to give everyone that productivity secret. Of not having to move to use the mouse, you know, which is only, you know, 10 ms, but that adds up if your entire day is an email. And I think you can take a lot of strength from the fact that, you know, Superhuman did maybe 10% of what you're going to do, and you know, seems to be doing incredibly well. Okay, well that was that's awesome. That was Take Taker from Arizona/Tennessee. Great work. Thank you again, Eric.
Thank you, Daniel.
Awesome. And next up we have MyDesk. We have Michael and Brian. If you're just joining us now, here's the TLDR on what's going on. We're talking to 4 finalists that have been competing in the Pioneer Challenge of building a better Zendesk. The winner of this challenge will get a $10,000 investment from Pioneer and introductions to some customers who have been providing feedback and voting on the products they think that are kind of being the best built. We're going to continue to do a series of these. We're going to talk about that more in a minute. After this challenge is over, to really attempt to map the kind of global community of, you know, founders and engineers to, you know, kind of hidden business opportunities that are out there. Next up, we have the founders of MyDesk, Michael and Brian.
Hello, everyone.
You guys there?
How's
Hello.
it going?
Good.
We've also
How are you
got
doing?
Phil, but he's our developer. He's been working through the night, so he's taking a bit of a R&R right now. So we'll represent for him.
Sounds good. Where are both of you?
So I'm based in Bar Harbor, Maine.
And Phil and I are both based in Australia.
Beautiful.
And so we actually connected through Pioneer. So I think kind of that vision
Oh my God!
outlined it. It was
Making
like a
our
great
day.
example of
Maybe
it.
our month and our year. We're so
Yeah.
happy to hear that. How exactly did you connect?
It was week 3, I think. End of week 3, we were both feeling a little anxious about maybe not making it through. So we were talking through WhatsApp to just say, regardless of who made us through, we're both kind of targeting the same problem. We're building a platform that could replace Zendesk. And obviously, we've been monitoring Brian's really awesome UI work. And we didn't have a UI on our side, so we didn't have UI UX, which you might have noticed.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story. Well, we're happy we could provide that connection. Happy the relationship is working out so far. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a marriage, longer than both of you care to admit. But gosh, from Maine to Australia, that's a real story of the internet. Walk us, I guess, through MyDesk. Some of the highlights of it, what you're excited about most about it.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think the overall vision based on like what we've heard from folks so far is that like, especially with the big enterprise customers, like they're not going to just switch off of Zendesk immediately. And they're also not going to switch off of like their existing chat tools and like all of their existing infrastructure in Salesforce. So we basically want to build a way to meet our customers where they're at, like regardless of what tools they're using, and then allow them to meet their customers where they're at. So like regardless of what platform they're kind of contacting support, that all essentially goes into like a single consolidated inbox. And so the support agents don't have to kind of jump from product to product to product just to kind of keep track of everywhere that their customers are interacting with their product.
Okay, do you want to show us? I guess it's something we can all look at and poke at.
Yeah, totally.
Michael, while I have you here, tell us a little bit about how you think, or kind of why you think you guys stand out here amongst the crowd. What are the features, especially given what you saw earlier today, that excite you most about MyDesk?
Yeah, so I guess the really powerful thing about MyDesk, as Brian was alluding to, is we've built it to be standalone or ability to integrate with existing systems. So that means that you're actually able to continue to use Zendesk. There's no extra login required. So you can log in with your Zendesk credentials to MyDesk. We bring across your groups, your tickets, everything's fully synced. But then you also get all the features that Brian's about to present with Slack integration, Salesforce integration, agile methodology built into the ticketing system, short codes and shortcuts. So we'll try and condense all of that in 2 minutes for you. All right, Brian, it's all yours.
All right, awesome. So I am going to start in Slack, and I'm basically having a problem resetting my passwords. So I'm gonna tell them in a like a company Slack, oh, I can't reset my password. And so then once that's sent, I'll jump over to, I'll kind of start on our response library. And basically this is a way for agents to kind of set up a library of both like their own personal responses as well as kind of like team and company-wide responses. We have kind of one set already as reset. So I'll jump over to the inbox. I'll actually hit I rather than tapping on it. And you can see the one that I just sent has kind of already popped up. And so I'll type reset. And so now this is basically that hotkey that we set up before. And this name code right here is coming from Salesforce connected to that particular user. And then any other fields that like aren't already attached to that, you can kind of go in and modify. So I think that gives basically the ability to personalize, but also the ability to like have some of those speed benefits of like having something that's preset. So I'll go ahead and create a ticket from that. And so basically that kind of acts as an inbox of like, regardless of if it's a specific support ticket or if it's just kind of, as you saw, like a message in Slack. So that bumps us over to the support ticket list, and I can view it quickly if I need to just kind of like triage, or if I want to have more of kind of that Kanban view, can jump over to the full ticket either on either of those views. And then from there, I have kind of all of the added context of this particular customer. And if there's something in particular there that's missing, then I can just jump straight to that organization's Salesforce information. And you can see kind of down here that specific contact kind of matches that data there. And so then you can kind of go in and close it out basically. So that's sort of the end-to-end flow of coming into my desk and then being able to go through the full ticket flow.
And do you support ingress from forms other than Slack and chat?
Yeah, so I mean, the long-term vision is regardless of what it is, there's an integration for it. We have, obviously we have Slack now. I believe email is set up already. Is that correct, Michael?
Yes, we've integrated with Gmail to a specific email account coming through, similar to Zendesk. I guess the big value here is probably two things. So one is internally, we have a thing called a ticket ID because we integrate with other ticketing systems. Externally, the customer never knows they're in a support system. They're continuing to have a chat in Slack. They don't know that they've been moved into a different system, a different triage. They're continuing to communicate with that organization, whether it's related to the same agent that started the conversation or a different one that's more specialist. And the other one, I guess, Brian, if you could just jump back, is just the short keys. So we've also built in a cheat sheet for all the shortcuts that we've in. Basically, all the main features can be accessible through keyboard shortcuts as well. And they can continue to be configured as needed. So we've been considering things such as whether or not left hand, right hand makes sense. What was the easiest key to reach? So we've been looking at the upper left side. So QWE, ASD, ZXC is our primary control keys as well, to try and make it really, really easy and efficient for, I guess, customers when they want to use the tool. But we'll work with them and get that sorted.
Yeah, so I think we kind of covered a lot of the overall approach. The integrations is really kind of like core to that. And then in addition, making like that sidebar, for example, like super configurable, and then balancing really sort of the speed and efficiency, which is obviously like super important. But at the same time, like speed can kind of lead towards that robotic, like templated response. And so through having these existing shortcodes, but they can be kind of customized on a like a per person basis, we sort of get the best of both worlds of those personalized responses as well as kind of those efficiency gains.
Beautiful.
And so some of the things we see kind of being promising in the future is expanding on the few that we showed you today with kind of different like other customer channels, any sort of data integrations, and really just kind of leaning on what folks are already using to build off of that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Those are some great photos. It's been super interesting. Michael, what time is it for you? Current?
It's almost 7 a.m. now.
Okay. Well, thank you for waking up early to be with us today. I'm super happy y'all met for Pioneer. That's really great to hear. work and project seem great. And yeah, thanks for participating in this challenge. Now to kind of just remind people, I guess, if you're joining us, what's all going on right now. Here's kind of the high level gist. Everyone presenting today was a participant in the Pioneer Challenge to build a better Zendesk. We have 4 different entries. We had Oxy, kind of a full-blown clone or embellishment on Zendesk with a particular focus on improved routing. Zener PA, very much trying to help people build software inside Zendesk instead of build a whole different replacement. We had kind of the superhuman of Zendesk, Ticket Taker, and then we had kind of the integration behemoth, meet the customers where they are approach with MyDesk. We are very hopeful that all of these, and in fact, everyone who applied and even didn't make it this far in the challenge ended up being incredibly successful. But what we're going to do later this week is get some feedback from some of our customers, review the entries ourselves here at Pioneer, and then you know, whittle it down yet again, and then we'll be in touch with folks on the internet about who won. As a quick reminder, the winner of the challenge will get a $10,000 investment from us and introductions to some of our customers. We will, if you're watching this and you want to start a thing but you're not quite sure what to do, we'll be doing another challenge, and stay tuned for more of that as we'll probably announce it in the next few days or so. That is all for now. Thank you all for taking the time to the precious time out of your day to kind of enjoy some internet content with us. We will very much be looking forward to seeing you on Pioneer. You should check it out if you haven't had a chance to already. The website is pioneer.app. It's an opportunity for you, if you have a project you've been working on and you're not quite sure if it's, you know, a company or not. This is your chance to validate it. And if you become a Pioneer, you get access to obviously mentorship, you know, a lot of AMAs with a bunch of different experts we have listed on our website, a real community of other like-minded folks, and funding and, you know, participation in our live stream, the whole bag of goodies. Really designed to help you to go from project to real company. That is really what we're here to do. We want to be responsible for the creation of 10,000 great companies around the world, finding kind of the underrated, extraordinarily productive people that with a little bit of a nudge and maybe that we can offer go on to make the, you know, the next Stripes, Airbnbs, Dropboxes, TikToks, whatever it'll be. All of that grand stuff being said, if you have a GitHub project and you know, you want to turn it into a company, we're here to help. Check out the website. That is all for now. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more internet content soon. Jackson, thank you again for making this fun and exciting and functional. And thank you to, I guess, the whole Pioneer team as well for building the platform that affords us to do this. We'll be in touch soon, guys. Bye-bye, internet.